Hi, I'm Francyn. I'm 18 years old. I live in California. Growing up was kind of rough. When I was 2 years old, my parents got divorced. And when I was 9, I was no longer allowed to live with my mom because drugs just kind of took over her life and she just couldn't take care of me. So I lived with my dad. And I guess that was kind of hard. He was a guy and I was a girl, and we just didn't really he didn't really understand some of the things I went through. But I had my aunts there, so that was a little bit better. But it was just I just had this hole, and it was just this emptiness, this longing for my mom, you know what I'm saying? But so fast forward a little bit, in 6th grade, I found out that my dad had cancer, and that was really hard on me because first of all, I didn't get to live in my house for a couple months because my dad wasn't living there. So it was I had to go live with my aunts, and they lived an hour away. So, and then also it was just super hard, I just remember feeling really upset because I thought, wow, I already lost my mom and now I'm gonna lose my dad. I'm not gonna have parents, you know what I'm saying? It was super hard for me to deal with. So my dad got healed and he's good. He's 100% healthy now. And there was a lot of feelings there that I didn't deal with or didn't think about or handle. I mean, no one really asked me if I was okay, so I didn't really think something's wrong because I didn't think about it. So moving forward, I'm gonna say my junior year of high school, I tried weed for the first time, and I loved it because it's I wasn't in this I wasn't in the world, I felt I was in another world and I didn't have to deal with any of my issues, or I felt really good. I'm a person that runs on feelings. I run on feelings. I'm just a really emotional person, and the fact that made me feel so good, I was oh, this is perfect, this is the way out, So I got caught once, and my dad, the second time I smoked, actually, I got caught. And my dad was never do this again, and I was in so much trouble. And my family, they were so upset. My aunt was not talking to me, and I love my aunts, they were kind of my mother figure, and no one was talking to me because they were so upset about it. And I remember me and my aunt got in this really big fight, and she was oh, watch out, don't do it. It was just so much shame and all of that. So the way I dealt with all that shame was I did drugs, So I continued doing drugs, and it kind of escalated, and I started to drink, and then I started just to experiment, and it was just not good. The second time I got caught, my dad sent me to a rehab in California, and that rehab was a not good place. There was a lot going on, and it was no good. But the one good thing that came out of it was I met this lady named Renee. I call her my Jesus woman, because there was one night that I was super upset. I was undone, on the floor crying, and she came next to me and said, "Can I pray for you?" And I was like, "What do you mean, can you pray for me?" I didn't know, I knew who Jesus was, but I didn't know him. I just knew he was some guy up in the sky, that's all. And you get on your knees and you pray to him. I didn't know the relationship or any of that. So she would pray for me every night because I kind of liked it when she prayed for me. And she would always tell me, Francine, give it to God. And I'm what do you mean give it to God? I can't give it to him. What? That made no sense to me. So I would always get really frustrated with that. So I left that rehab, and I called myself Christian. I was yeah, I have a Bible, and someone prayed for me twice. I'm Christian, But anyway, I went back to school, that same school actually, and I relapsed within the week of the first day of school. So my dad was okay, I can't have you stay here because you're not any better, so let's find a place for you to go. Me, my dad, and his girlfriend, we were all sitting around this diner table, and we found for me to go, and they decided on this place in Mexico. It was a military school, and it was 5 months, and it was in Mexico, a different country. And we had everything set up. My dad had the appointment set up, and the plane tickets were bought, and everything. So I went to bed that night, and then I found out that at 1 a.m. my dad woke up and he canceled everything. Canceled the appointments, the plane, everything. He just woke up randomly at 1 a.m. and canceled everything. So I was just okay. So I didn't end up going there. So I remember my dad, his girlfriend, and I were all sitting at a diner and just like, okay, so like where is she gonna go? Because I can't stay there. So they were trying to, you know, get help for me. So we found this place on the internet called Springboard, and we were like, what's Springboard? So we went to look through it, and I was like, I like wanted to know more about God, you know? So I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like, this is like faith-based. And then we was like, okay. So then we called Springboard, and then next thing I knew, I was on a plane to Arizona. So when I first got to Springboard, I walked out of the car and I had one lady come up to me. She's like, oh, who are you? I'm like, I'm Francyn. She goes, oh, can I give you a hug? And I was like, give me a hug. I mean, all right, like whatever you want to do. So she gave me a hug, and then she walked us into the Springboard facility, and I walked in and everyone was like, oh, hi, can I give you a hug? And I was like, okay. And I think I'm going to say my first like 10 minutes of being there, I met this lady named Miss Susie, and oh, she was so sweet. Like, she just said like, I love you. And I was like, what? Like, you don't know me. Like, I don't know how you could love me, but I mean, all right. So she gave me a hug and like whatever. So my first night at Springboard was pretty rough. I just missed my dad, and I didn't understand why I was there. Like, I felt really abandoned. Like, I felt like my dad just didn't want me at home, so he dropped me off at Springboard. So I was really upset. But so fast forward in Springboard, it was amazing. I found like that hole that I had from my mom, like that got filled up. Like, I just like, no other person can fill that but Jesus. Like, you can go look at drugs, you can go look for food, shopping, etc. But like, Jesus is gonna be the only one that can fully fill that, and you're gonna feel satisfied. Do you know what I'm saying? And it was like, I just learned so much in Springboard. Like, I learned that like I have self-worth. Like, I had no self-worth going into before that. Like, I just thought I was like, you know, a plastic bag. Like no, like that was kind of weird. Like, I'm just a rock on the street. Like, no, like I'm the child of God. Like, Jesus like knows me. Like, there are so many people in this world, right? And like, Jesus knows us like so perfectly. And it's like, okay, then if I'm like a rock on the street, like, no, I'm not, because like Jesus knows me. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's pretty crazy to me. So then, yeah, it was a pretty crazy 5 months. And so then now I left Springboard, and I graduated high school too. It was really crazy the way I graduated high school. But like it's like this long story, but everything lined up and I graduated with my class. So that was the class of 2018. That was super cool. So then also I'm in college for business, and I want to start my own faith-based rehab in LA, because we have some in Arizona, but you know, LA needs that Jesus love. I have an amazing church called Fearless. Oh, it's like, I'm so blessed to be there. My pastor is just so crazy with Jesus. But I go to Fearless LA, and just like my life is just, it's so amazing. Like, I can't think about not having Jesus. Like, it's crazy, because like I had to write a paper for English, and it was like tell me about something that changed your life. And I was like, okay, what if I took Springboard and Jesus out of the equation? Like, I have nothing. Like, I have nothing without Jesus, you know? And it's just like, Jesus is the one, you know? So yeah, thank you for listening.